what we're going to deal with as far as this home rule thing is concerned. Remember that we are under the old home rule ordinance that was enacted in 2007 and not under the new one, even though I believe that the laws that part of the amendments that were produced in the new one, and this is in concurrence with some of our attorneys and with some members of council that are attorneys have dealt with, that we believe that would affect what we're trying to do as far as our tax changes. Let me first say that when I first thought of this, when we first talked about doing this, I wanted to do it under the new home rule program, but I was convinced after my talking with Senator Snyder up there that we needed to do it now. So where did it come from that we would come up with the kind of plan that we had of the three different proposals that I talked about when we first started? That was the half-a-cent sales tax, the 15 basis point reduction on the B&O tax, and the elimination of manufacturing. And I somewhat patterned my proposal after Huntington somewhat. It was, they had a 1% increase, and I didn't want to do that, so I did 0.5%. They had half their B&O taken off of retail, and I wanted to knock about 15 basis points. They knocked off 25. And I did want to eliminate manufacturing. It's my position that if somebody's going to do manufacturing in this town, if somebody wants to assemble a product and hire people in Charleston, West Virginia, that we should not add the burden of a B&O tax to them. And I was thinking about when certain things have happened along the way, obviously changed my mind. When I thought of how could we mitigate the sales tax, I thought, well, we could lower taxes on business, the businesses that, all the people that spend money on sales tax are not all from Charleston. As a matter of fact, they might not even half be from Charleston or even a fourth. We don't know that. But we do know that everybody that does business in Charleston that pays the B&O taxes has elected to do business in Charleston, and that's where it came from. My passion was restaurants and car dealers. And you think, well, why car dealers? And I remember in 2008 with the crash and all the companies almost going out of business, and our great auto industry was in peril. And then I went to the ribbon cutting at Moses for their Cadillac and General Motors, various products that they sell. And behind me was a $2 million building that they had, investment had been made behind me. And then I saw all these products on the lot, some of which were $80,000. So I knew they had to do a high net or a gross. I mean, if you're going to sell an $80,000 Cadillac, the first thing I thought about was the floor plan. And if you know what a floor plan is, that's the interest you have to pay on the vehicles you buy. And then I thought about the B&O tax that they would pay on, say, an $80,000 vehicle, and there's any way we could help them on that. I stuck by that till the last day of, I think it was the special session, when the state decided they would take up to 5% of our money on the sales tax. After conversations with the governor and with then Tax Commissioner Lawrence, and I don't think they're going to take that much, but they've certainly got the ability to, and they have the law on their side. And the way this thing went through was overnight. There were no committee hearings, no nothing. So the train was running, and they had already the votes put together, and other mayors protested, and but the thing was done. So then I lowered it to 10 basis points. Then when the new law was read, we found that if you lower a tax, you can never raise it again. And I thought about what we're trying to do and why are we trying to do it. Now, when we first carved out the sales tax increase and these other taxes, there was no fixed amount to fix to any fixed bonding capacity. In other words, we'd like to do a $60 million project, Civic Center. I don't know if we can, but I knew we were coming forth with about $3.5 million of the net to begin with, and now it'll be a lot more than that. But I was going to find out what our net was and fit it into what kind of project we could afford. And that's what it was. I didn't know if it would be a 40 million or a 50 million or 60 million, but I know we had to act to do this. Because I know if we didn't do a civic center now, we weren't going to get to do one. Period. We just weren't going to get to do it. And we need to do this for the youth, and we need to do this for the future of our city. As I've told you, I've been out and around the country, and I've been to other convention centers, and we have a long way to go. I went through all the investment that has gone all around this civic center, which I could rattle off to you again, but you've seen the sketches and you've seen the amounts, and it's a tremendous amount of money all around the civic center. The civic center is the last project on the table. So now we're going to have more money. People say, what are you going to do with the money? Well, first thing we're going to do is have David carve out for us, what is the civic center going to cost? What kind of project are we going to put on the table? It's going to take a while to enact the tax, and I still want to eliminate the manufacturing. But we're going to let him come up with a project. We tend to rush our projects with Molgard, and he's done a very good job, beginning with the ballpark. We need to do some work in this alley when it comes to the police department. I'm not even sure it's illegal, what we're doing out there, but we have to do the civic center. And we have one more problem, and that's these pensions, which are obviously enormous. When I first became mayor, we were paying 8% of our budget to the pensions. Now we're paying around 11.3. That's going to increase over the next few years pretty dramatically. Keep in mind that when somebody retires from the city now that wears a uniform, police or fire, they're not paid out of the pension funds. Not anymore. They're paid out of the money, out of the budget that you all carved up on this table, that you created downstairs and is bought up here. And that's where the money comes from. Somebody retires, probably an average of $45,000 a year. We're not taking exception to that. We've got no problem with it. That was created for us also, that amount. Plus they have COLAs. Who's going to pay for this on down the road, and how fast will it increase? Well, the more it increases, the more it will increase, because it's going to compound. And over the next 10 years, it could be $4 million.
Next 7 years.
Next 7 years, it could be $4 million. And that will be $4 million every year, not just for the 1 year. And it will continue, and it will continue, and it will continue. And that's what we have to do to fit into this 35-year obligation that we have put ourselves into with the law that was passed at the legislature just a couple years ago. For the younger members of council, we have to come up with a plan so they can, when they're my age, they can, hopefully it'll be in a lot better shape than it is today. And that they'll have a revenue stream that will help pay for it. And the revenue stream will come from this. Hopefully the amount of the sales tax will expand, and the money for the Civic Center, if we, depends on the type of project we carve out, someday those bonds will be paid. And someday we will have money to pay off these enormous pension funds, which will go up tremendously by that time. So that's my plan. Now, let me just say one thing. Our friends in the library community that have a pretty enormous vision for a library they want to build, they have run into some roadblocks with the Kanawha County School Board, who filed a lawsuit so they wouldn't have to pay the amount of money they've been paying. They actually cut their budget over $1 million. They say they're going to run a levy, which is interesting, and we'll see how well it does. My solution, and I want one vote on 27, is to continue funding in the way we've been funding. And all we have to do to stop that is to go right across the street, and we don't have to. My solution is we continue to fund it at the rate we've been funding it to help these folks out. It's over $900,000 a year. It's a lot of money. It would go well to help pay off these bonds at Civic Center. I would say we continue to pay them at the rate we're paying them, and we don't take advantage of that situation. They've also they have a $40 to $50 million plan, which I don't know how that will ever work out. But that is their issue. I said, we'll give you the last $1 million for that plan. We'll bond that money for you. We're not going to be part of your bonding experience. We're just going to, because we have a Civic Center to do. That's what we're focused on. And if you want to focus on the library, we invite you to be, that's our contribution. We're not cutting it a bit. As a matter of fact, I think it's very generous on part of the city to come up with that $1 million, and that's subject to your approval. That's I talk about these things and go make these proposals, but they're all subject to your proposals, to your approval, excuse me. One last question, Casey Russell. Ask me a question. Did you do this for the legislature approval? Do you remember when you asked me that question? I said no, and I thought about that and thought about that. And maybe I did, I'm not sure. When I first thought about this proposal, we had a glowing recommendation from the state, from their auditors, talking about how great the home rule program was. I thought, well, it's not necessary, but you know, maybe we are. I want to demonstrate as part of one of many cities, which may be 20 under this home rule program, that home rule works. And home rule works not just for this city and not for the 20 that come under home rule over these next few years, but that hopefully the whole state will be putting under home rule, all the cities under home rule, because it only makes common sense to do that. And our people that are closest to the issues are the best ones to solve them, not the people that are far away. It doesn't work in state government, and it certainly doesn't work in the federal government. Right here is where the action is, and this is where the best decisions are made. Unfortunately, it's not always where the money is. So we don't have a printing press. So I have a few minutes, and I'll take questions from elected council members and the press. Anybody? What is it?
You spoke about part of the home rule bill required you to lower a tax in order to raise one.
No. That's in the new home rule.
Yes,
we're under the old home rule.
Right. But it also says that if you raise that, under the new one, if you lower that tax and you cannot raise it.
You can never raise it again.
Unless you do away with your sales tax.
Yeah, well, see, our situation is kind of odd because we're under the old home rule, but I don't want to tamper with that. I don't want to roll the dice on that because I don't want to subject future count. I always look at these youngsters because I don't want to subject my decisions to people that are 30 years younger than me because somebody didn't do their job 30 years ago and somebody really didn't do it. And this is because I've gone through all the records in 1991. There's no record of us going into the pension program that's got us in so much trouble. Somebody, the administrative position in this city, just took it upon themselves. It's not. I've looked through these council records, those huge books and the statements, and it's not there because you didn't have to do that. You just did it. You went into what's called the alternative funding formula. And in that formula, what went through the legislature, they had our firemen's pension system going busted in 2006. And yet, the people in the administrative part of our government, it was 91 or 92, decided to put us in this alternative formula. And that's why we're in so much trouble today. And that's why we have to deal with this situation. It will pay their pensions, fine. And it will also help these younger people in the future of Charleston to be able to not be in debt. Okay? Anybody else? Yes, sir?
If I understand you correctly, you want to split the B&O tax money that you'll now be still receiving.
Right.
3 ways?
Well, I'm not sure about 3 ways. What we're going to do, everything's going to be done in the light of day and in front of council. We're going to, the biggest project's Civic Center, and it will have a revenue stream that will fluctuate over the years and will increase in years to come because bonds will be paid off, more money will come in, and these deficits from these pension system, which is over a $200 million problem, is not going to disappear. And the only thing we can do is work to find a revenue stream to help pay for them because they are going to be enormous in 15 to 20 years. And Huntington's paying $1 on every 4. Think about that. $1 on every 4. We're paying 11.3%. When I got here, we were paying 8 cents on a dollar. So it's going up. It's going up significantly. We're in a lot better situation than they are 50 miles to our west. And we hope they do well. So we hope all these cities, but all these cities have problems, especially in the fireman's pension system. I don't know why it's unique to the firefighters. The police aren't in as bad a shape. Who else? Yes, sir. Councilman Smith.
What is the difference between the old home rule standards that we have and what with that of the new one that's?
Well, the old home rule standards didn't have the guns in there, didn't have the gays, didn't have the. The question was, what's the difference? And the other one was a narrowed down version that 5 cities could have participated in, but four did participate in. The new one takes in 20, but has a lot of stipulations that have to do with those issues I discussed last time, and I just now discussed guns, gays, and also the other issues as far as you can't lower a tax without raising another, and all those configurations, which I find unnecessary, but it's not our decision. So we're gonna do what the legislature has carved out for us to do. We're going to hopefully make them like it, and make them realize, and hopefully all the 20 cities will come up with plans that'll the legislature will look at. Maybe not this one, but 5 years from now, they said, boy, those cities knew what they were doing. And hopefully we can give a civic center, a convention center, which not a civic center, but a convention center, which will be something that this city can use and work with, and will help all these hotels all over the city, and help the mall, and help us to develop a great convention business for our city, which we're already underway. There's a young lady in the room who turned 90 years old today. Stand up, young lady.
I was going to say.
This is Tom Lane's mom. You can say something if you want. It's great to see you. It's exciting you're here with us. And we do the best we can over here. And you've certainly have given this city a great family of all your sons, and your husband was a great man, and your daughter, and you're a great lady.